All right, back again this time for metric prefixes. Super cool topic. I love this. This makes science so much easier, and I love what we're able to do with it. So first, page 3 and 4, because this is continuing on with math review. Use loose leaf paper if you run out of room, but we are looking at the three basic metric prefixes: kilo, milli, and centi. You should have seen these before. Shouldn't be anything new, but we're going to dive into those to help get us situated. So take a second. See, what do you see these four images? What do they each have in common? All right. What you could have noticed, among other things, is they each have three of something. So if you notice right here, we've got a tricycle. We've got three wheels on it, and we've got a trident because it's got three tips. This is a set of triangles, each with three corners or three angles, and a triceratops has three horns. So what they all have in common is three and the word tri as the prefix in their name. And so why that is, we've got tri means three of something. Okay, so you are familiar with this idea where we use a prefix to designate somehow the amount of something in that thing. So all we're going to do is use that to our advantage. So same thing here, we've got the tri means three, so this here we've got triplets and triplets, a musical note called triplets. Both have the prefix tri because there are three of them. So basic prefixes that we use to help numbers make to make easier numbers out of are going to be milli, which is 1/1000th, which is 1/1000, or 0.001. Centi, which is 1/100th, which is 1/100, or 0.01. And kilo, which is 1,000, in contrast to the thousandth with a th. You'll have remembered this if you watched the placeholder one. So this would be 1,000 of something. And so if you put that as a prefix in front of a unit like millimeter, then that means that you have a millimeter is 1/1000th of a meter. Centimeter is a centimeter is 1/100th of a meter. And the easier way for me to see that is that instead you've got 1,000 millimeters equals 1 meter. That's the way that I typically make sense of that, but it means the same thing, that you have 1/1000th of a meter is 1 millimeter. Then kilometer means you've got 1,000 of those meters in 1 kilometer. Okay, so with that, if we are looking at a penny, what's another word for a penny? You have a single penny. It's a cent, right? A cent. And so the way I remember centa is 100 is because cent is the same thing that we use for a penny. And a penny is 1/100th of a dollar, right? If you have 100 cents, that's $1. It's 1/100th of a dollar. So same thing, centimeter is 1/100th of a meter. So you need 100 of them to make it. So I'm hoping that's clicking. I like to give you guys real things that you can relate to here. So we've got basic metric prefixes. Again, I look at them slightly differently than what I just said, but just need to give you some context for it. So I typically think of it as 1,000 millimeters in a meter, 100 centimeters in a meter, and 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. So notice that the ones that are smaller, like millimeters, centimeters, and the meters to kilometers situation, the meters is the smaller one. those are the ones that get the larger number, right? And let's take a second and think through that. Well, if I've got a kilometer, which is like on the order of a mile, then a meter, that's like a yard, you're going to have a lot more meters to fit inside of that kilometer. Okay, so that's why you're needing the bigger number in the smaller unit. So let's look at a more specific example of what that's meaning. So if you're looking at this ruler and you see the unit for this ruler is centimeters, that means that each of these, where they show numbers, is a centimeter. Okay, and notice that they are smaller than an inch that's shown at the bottom. So they're pretty small. They're about the size of like a thumbnail, a centimeter is. And if you look at the millimeters, those are those little tiny lines in between them. So those are quite a bit smaller. So that's why they're even smaller than a centimeter. And then a meter is like a yard. So that's where these centimeters go inside of a meter. So you need 100 of these centimeters right here to be able to make 1 meter. Okay? So then here, if 1,000 millimeters in a meter, then it stands to reason that you can have 1,000 anything, milli anything inside of a thing. So for example, you're looking at a graduated cylinder. You should be familiar with this. You should have worked with it before. This is measured in milliliters, ml, and you see that something a little bit larger, like this Aquafina water bottle, you can get those in liter sized. So 1 liter of this Aquafina water is larger. You'd need 100 of these milliliters to fit inside of that. I'm sorry, 1,000 of those milliliters, because it's 1,000 milli things inside of a thing. So you'd need 1,000 milliliters to fit inside that Aquafina 1 liter water bottle. Okay. So then that means that the thing doesn't really matter. You're looking at what the prefix is. So there's 1,000 milliliters in a liter. Okay. Then how we're going to use that is sometimes we're going to have to go back and forth between units because unfortunately not everyone's on the same page about what unit they give us. So I'm going to show you how to apply that. So we've got, in this problem, 624 centimeters to meters. So we're going to look at that 624. I'm going to abbreviate that centimeters and abbreviate meters as meters. So I know that centi means 100, so there's 100 centimeters in 1 meter, because centi is the smaller one. I've got 100 centimeters in 1 meter. So then this is what we call the train tracks, or the T-chart. It helps us do conversions. We're going to dive more into this in a later unit, but I want to give you guys the structure of it here in case you haven't seen it before. So what you need to do, if you remember back to the unit on fractions, something over itself will cancel out. It'll be 1. So then if we have centimeters on top, then we want to have the centimeters part of that on the bottom. Okay, so we're going to take that and put the 100 centimeters on the bottom, and because these are equal to each other, I can put that on the 1 meter on the top here, and that'll tell me that I need to do 624 divided by 100, and multiplying by 1 doesn't actually change anything. So this is just a structure to help you know whether you're multiplying or dividing these numbers in your conversion. So when I do that, I get 6.24 meters. And the nice thing is You can just move that decimal point, or you can type it in the calculator. If you don't see that, that's fine. Next one we've got is 1.53 kilometers to meters. So I've got 1.53 km, and I want to get that to meters. Kilo I know means 1,000, but kilometer is the bigger one, so that's 1 equals 1,000 of the meters, because meters is smaller than a kilometer. Kilometers are more like a mile. And so that same thing, I want the kilometer on the bottom, so that kilometer will cancel. So 1 kilometer, which means that 1,000 meters goes on the top. And because we've got kilometers on top and bottom, we've got those are going to cancel here. Leave us with meters, which is what I wanted. So then equals 1.53 times 1,000 divided by 1. That's the same thing as 1.53 times 1,000, so 1,530 meters. Then next, we've got 0.540 liters, and trying to get that to milliliters. I've got 1 liter equals, and milli means 1,000, so I've got 1,000 milliliters in that 1 liter. I need the liters on the bottom, so that means that 1 liter goes on bottom and 1,000 milliliters on the top. I've got liters cancels, left with milliliters, so I'm good to go. So 540 milliliters. And that makes sense because liters is a bigger unit, so I should get more of the smaller unit, 540 rather than 0.54. Okay. Then up to the right, we've got 1,005 milliliters to meters. So we've got 1,005 millimeters, and we know milli means 1,000. Millimeter is smaller, so millimeter, 1,000 millimeters equals 1 meter. I need that millimeters on the bottom, so that's going to go here on the bottom of this T-chart, on the bottom of this train tracks, and then the 1 meter will have to go on the top because that's the other side of this conversion. So I put the 1,000 millimeters on the bottom, 1 meter goes on the top. So then I've got 1,005 times 1, and then divided by 1,000. So we've got 1.005 meters. This last one, a little bit different, a little bit more challenging. You guys are up for it though, because you guys are awesome. And what this one is doing is 10.7 centigrams to milligrams. Both of these are prefix units, so you can look at it and figure out exactly how many centigrams are in a milligram. But for me, that just doesn't click in my brain, so I'm going to show you the structure that I use to come up with this. So we've got 10.7 centigrams, and I know that because I have 2 prefix units that I'm going to have to do multiple different things. So what I'm thinking here is I can go from centigrams to grams, and I know how to do that because you guys have done that sort of thing in previous ones. And then if I'm in grams, then I can go to milligrams. So that's what I'm going to do. So I know that there's 100 centigrams in 1 gram, and I know there's 1,000 milligrams in 1 gram. Okay, and I'm going to use both of those in this conversion, both of those in this T-chart. So we've got the centigram needs to go on the bottom here. So I'm going to pull this one first. I need the centigram part, which is going to be 100 centigrams on the bottom, which means that because I put the centigram part of this on the bottom, then the 1 gram goes on the top. 1 gram. Centigrams cancels, I'm left with grams, so I have another step because I'm not to the unit I want yet. I wanted milligrams. So then here's where I pull the next one. 1,000 milligrams equals 1 gram. I'm in grams currently, so then grams needs to go on bottom. Again, I need the same thing on the top and the bottom so that they cancel out. So then 1 gram, and because I put the 1 gram on bottom, then the other part of that is 1,000 here. So 1,000 milligrams. Grams cancels, and left with 10.7 times 1 times 1,000 divided by 100. Okay? When you do that out, you should end up with 107 milligrams. Okay? Then, in